The modern designs of pottery in Egypt makes us impressed with the progress the Egyptian has made throughout their 7,000 years of civilization. They have totally mastered this magnificent art, producing pottery of various designs and colors, which makes Egypt really unmatched in the whole world today in producing pottery.
The historical sources of the ancient Egyptian history are known and validated, like the recordings of Maniton el-Samannudi and Karnak List, and the writings of Herodotus and the papyri and others. But no doubt, pottery has played an important, undeniable role in dating the timings of the monumental sites accurately. For the handmade manufacturing of pottery varied in all of its aspects from one time zone to another, starting from the dawn of history and stretching to almost the end of the ancient civilization. It's quite interesting to know that the pot shreds remaining from the pharaonic times kept existing side by side to the other eras that followed, like the Islamic period and its monuments. The Nile, stretching 6,671 kilometers in the African lands ending in Egypt, was a prime cause of the civilization of the mother country of all civilizations. With the Nile came the flood annually to submerge the cultivated lands with a black silt. The Egyptians knew the true values of their black treasure, for it was the natural fertilizer of their green land, so precious that god Osiris, being the god of cultivation, besides being the god of the dead, was represented sometimes in green or black color. But that was not the only function of the silt. In fact, it served an equally important purpose. A purpose that was a mark of history itself. The Egyptians knew the effect of fire on silt or mud and started making simple daily use objects out of it, especially water pots and plates of all sizes and shapes. The potterer became a very important worker in the society, for his job included a lot of art as well as long hours of hard work on the pottery wheel. We can only imagine the hard work of someone on whom the whole village depended to supply each house with its kitchen tools, in addition to the huge temples and governmental official uses. Even after the pottery was broken, the people never threw it away. They gathered it in a public place to be used by students who learned to write and draw. So pottery served as a writing material for youngsters and some adults too. Today, we'll never find a monumental site without finding hills of pot shreds beside it or even inside it. For example, the Ramesseum. Ramesseum is composed of a complex of buildings, starting with the facade of the temple, then the open court, which has colossal statues of King Ramesses II cut out of the same stones of the pillars. The court is followed by halls that has columns too, and vestibules, leading all to the most important chamber in the temple, which is the sanctuary. But the temple has more constructions that are truly impressive and rare. At the rear part of the Ramesseum temple, there is a controversial collection of buildings that were built of mud bricks and still exists in a very good condition till today. These buildings are storage open-air vaulted shapes constructions. They are divided into sections. Each is few meters long with high ceilings. It's believed that they were used to store food supplies and beverages used in the services of the temple, like water, beer, and wine. This was not a mere assumption, but evidences were found to assure them. Thousands of jars, either broken or in perfect condition, were found right here. Each jar had a lid, and on the lid the name of King Ramesses was written, and the contents of that jar. They were all made of pottery. Habbo Temple is a mortuary temple of King Ramesses III in the West Bank in Luxor. The temple is unusual in all aspects, for it was built to take the shape of the fortress in the eastern parts of the Egyptian Empire. Next to the temple, there is a royal settlement of the king, his palace, and the servants' quarters, and the women quarters, and the animal sheds, and most of all, the warehouses. The settlement was built of mud bricks, which is another use of the black silt. As for the contents of the warehouses, they were basically jars made of pottery, containing water and wine and beer. The ground outside the temple is full of pot shreds, remaining there for 3,500 years. El Minya Governorate enjoys a second great position after Luxor in the collection of monuments. Included in this variety is a Greek-Roman collection. El Ashmonain is an important city in El Minya, as it includes ancient Egyptian monuments as well as Greek-Roman ones. There is a palace called the Basilica. It was a market and a temple with columns that still stands till today. The most interesting part is water pipes of the draining system of the city. They run in long complicated lines and show a genius design and a very progressed system, but most of all, a great use of the Egyptian pottery. El Qom al-Ahmar is another site in El-Minya Governorate that's full of monumental portraits. In fact, its very name is all the needed proof of that, as the word Qom means hill and the word Ahmar means red. So together it's the Red Hill, referring of course to the heaps of red broken pottery that are scattered all around this monumental area that used to be the capital of the 16th nome of Egypt, which symbol was the ibex. This area includes a huge collection of precious buildings, starting with the pyramid that belongs to the third dynasty of the Old Kingdom, meaning that it's older than the Great Pyramid of Cheops. People used to come here and throw away their broken pottery to be used by the pupils and students who learn how to write and draw in the ancient times. The modern Egyptians have taken after their ancient ancestors all the secrets of manufacturing fine pottery. Moreover, they are still using the same methods and following their steps all the way. We've been to one of the workshops to show the hard job of the potterer and his assistant. It starts with the assistant cutting a piece of Egyptian mud that comes all the way from Aswan, 1,000 kilometers away. He measures it carefully on a balance, as each piece of pottery requires an accurate amount of mud. He hits it hard to soften it, then delivers it to the potterer. The potterer picks up the piece, and after adjusting the wheel space, he puts it over the base and immediately starts shaping it. In this case, he's making a tajin or a baking tray. Simultaneously, he's turning the wheel with his leg, so his hands and legs are moving together in a very calculated, unmistaken, expert way. It may look easy, but believe me, it can't be more difficult. The worker returns to take the product and put it carefully on a certain shelf previously prepared for these trays. They need to dry out completely before being placed in the oven. earlier, he has made jars and mugs and decorated tagines. In the past, the oven used to be made manually, and wood was its fuel. But since the number of these workshops increased, they started to threat the environment of the city. So the government stopped all these ovens from working and made the owners replace them with clean electrical ones. Now, many pieces have to wait until the number of pottery to be placed inside the oven is complete and the oven is full, which is an economical approach to the production. Now that the pottery is burned in the oven for long hours, they are ready to the next stage, which is coloring. Coloring is done in various ways and styles, depending on the outcome that's ordered. Some of the products are ordered to be colored in more than one color, while others had to be plain and had only one color. Most of the modern styles come in colorful colors, especially the dinner sets of the newly brides. They like the colored cups and mugs and coffee sets, which come in all bright colors like red, green, blue, yellow, and purple. Others like the one-color plates, either matte or shiny. In all cases, all the colors are safe for use and contain no toxic artificial substances. As for the traditional pieces of pottery, they are wearing new outfits or appearances. The details are colorful with cheerful colors. They are both practical and efficient and presentable on dinner tables. There are also many decorative items made of pottery to be placed either inside or outside in the outdoors, like gardens. The City of the Potterers is located right in front of the Museum of Civilization and is built by the government to contain and encourage the hard-made industry of pottery, as the Egyptian pottery is categorized as the most ancient and the best in the world, and has never and will never be challenged in its quality and designs.